so everybody understands, I've been meeting and talking with the officers of the Oakland Community of Commerce, which is pretty much defunct right now with the current officers, and we have a meeting scheduled in 2 weeks. So hopefully we can get the business owners to be involved in this and move forward on this. Anybody else on the streetscape plan? So we have further notice.
So would this just involve large projects, or if you know, I own a storefront and I want to redo, you know, I want to stucco it, I want to vinyl siding.
It's not going to affect, in my opinion, without seeing the building, I think. And I don't know if John or Rich could help us on this, but in terms of, I look at it as streetscape improvement. So the way it's been described for uniform, are we going to have pavers? What's the type of curbing? Do we like certain street plants, street trees, and street lamps, so that you have a uniform appearance? Someone doesn't put in pavers, and then you have, you know, a slate walkway, let's say.
Okay.
Right. I ran into this on a project that I did up in Northvale, where Paris Avenue has a streetscape, and I put in an affordable housing building, and I had to conform with the existing streetlights and sidewalk structure. So everything is uniform going down Paris Avenue.
So my question would be, if we do approve uniform lighting, can't the borough start by putting these lights in our downtown area?
Well, the other question is from where to where?
Well, don't we have a CBD?
Well, there's some issues going on right now.
I think what you need to see is what the planning board and the planner are recommending.
We've been working at the planning board. We have a committee that.
I mean, I would like to, I think we've discussed this at the council level for several years, that we would like to start seeing some improvement and uniformity in the downtown area. I know we said we wanted to wait for sewers. I mean, maybe for crosswalks and curbing, et cetera, I agree. But I mean, I think we could start by putting uniform light posts up and uniform garbage receptacles.
Yes, but we don't want to be a hodgepodge. We want to have a plan first, and then we could do little by little.
I'm saying once we adopt it, I think we should move forward as a town,
yes,
and start doing some of these projects.
But I'd also like to hear the council as to from where to where.
We also spoke about this a few years ago.
No one's answering me.
Well,
I just said CBD 1.
No.
So I brought the zoning map with me, just to think of, you know, it runs through so many different zones, you know, Ramapo Valley Road. So you know, it's tough to determine. It goes really from a B2 zone all the way to the CBD2 zone, and in between you've got CBD1, you've got your B2, a TH zone, an RPP zone.
One on Ramapo Valley Road?
Yeah, there's just so many zones, different zones that touch it. RAC zone. The zoning map, again, so if we're going to do this, are we going to cover through, or are we just going to identify CBD1 and CBD2 zones?
What I want to do is a hodgepodge.
Well,
so we have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Sure. I want it from Portobello's to Glen Gray Road.
Well, I mean,
that's why we have to get the businesses involved.
I mean,
right.
I mean, I think that, you know, a good place to start would be for Franklin Ave, at least past the first aid squad, and push further down when more monies are available. But at least that defines our downtown area. Come down Franklin Ave, make a left, all the way down to the first aid squad, and that is our downtown quarter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got so many beautiful Victorian buildings along that strip too. I mean, if that's, what's the style we want to look? Is that the, you know, the charm of Oakland, that Victorian look? Is it something else? There's historic homes along there as well that are just absolutely beautiful. They're not Victorian looking, but I think a lot of that needs to be factored in. And, you know, that section further down from like the first aid squad to
ShopRite.
Yeah, ShopRite, you know, is a lot of Victorian homes along there. It's very beautiful, but is that considered? It's not the CBD. There's 3-4 other zones that touch in that strip right there, just on whether it's one side of Ramapo Valley Road or the other.
I think that you should wait till you hear from the planning board, because you can expect probably applications zone of where those residents are. If there's a look that you want, that'll have to be picked up by the municipality.
But, you know, I just want to add on to that. If we're going to kick this back to the planning board, while we're looking at the, you know, the streetscape and what the look and feel of the town is, I'd also like to come back with some design elements for Bush Plaza to really just clean that corner up. And even as Mr. Van Eck had alluded to, put a clock in there that says this is
referring
Oakland.
to Station Park?
Holy cow, people. Yeah.
Yeah, Station Park, yeah, right, but I mean, if we're having a discussion, let's really put that into the design element and move this along.
We did, we passed the fire squad, incorporated.
Yeah, no more, yes, we will discuss this, yes.
Yeah, Councilman Carmel is right.
And we do have all the plans from Station Park.
Yeah, I've looked over the two concepts that were presented as well, and I think this is something we should absolutely do. It's going to, you know, help us all retain property values and just beautify the entire community. To, you know, get a clock, some landscaping, it's beautiful. Both concepts have great elements, and if we take some elements from each one, I think it could be an absolutely, it's expensive. It's $1 million project to beautify that section, but there's some fundraising that could be done. Whether it's paving engraved stones, some ideas that I've thrown out. I've heard ideas from other people. There's a way we can generate revenue, maybe apply for grants. We heard about some of them for the court, for this senior center, just received a great grant for that. I mean, there's so many grants we've been getting lately. I mean, even there's opportunity maybe for that as well, but I think there's some fundraising, and it's something that absolutely needs to be done.
And we're going to get the businesses there involved.
But I think we have to start with the planner and the planning board.
And
He
there
had some
are
great ideas. I'm sorry that, to discuss this, we really need Steve Lyden. He came up with some great ideas at the planning board.
Yeah, and there's some tax incentives that businesses can have as well for
Yeah.
beautifying their facade in the front of their building, that there are tax breaks they could receive as a result of doing those types of improvements, which help the community overall, which, you know, is a benefit to that business. But if they're making that investment, there is a tax benefit for them. And they should be made aware of what those programs through the state are.
Yeah. Speaking of which, signs at Bush Plaza.
Perfect segue. Well, I think it's tacky. I love Rotary and all the organizations that put signs up there, but we have an LED sign now. I've been saying this every meeting. I think there's got to be a plan in place for how we're going to do this. I think it should be for a specific purpose. Whatever we come up with, we got to come up with a plan, beautify that Station Park, create that Bush Plaza, that beautiful thing we were just talking about, and not have signs there blowing in the wind anymore.
I have a suggestion. I have a suggestion that might satisfy both differences of opinion. Why don't we have a transition period of 1 or 2 years in which we allow the signs at Bush Plaza, and we also put it on the LED sign, so that the people who are used to seeing it at Bush Plaza transition into seeing it on the LED sign.
We're going to put it on the LED sign.
I'm sorry?
We have an admin committee meeting scheduled for later in September.
Yes, that'll be discussed.
Okay, well, that's my suggestion.
Yes, we understand, yes. And that's what the administration committee is going to talk about.
But if we put in this LED sign, and this is repeated information, I mean, Councilman Pignatelli, transition period, sure, 2 years, I don't know if that's enough
Well,
time.
I said 1 or 2. I mean, I'm just throwing it out, the idea of the transition period out.
I mean, we have the LED sign now. I think that's where information should be, and we don't have to put tacky signs. We got to beautify that space and improve our entire community as a result of doing that.
I agree. I just
Speaking of
thought,
which, I heard good news today, from our engineer. They're moving the electrical box.
No, Mayor, we're just having a meeting.
So it's
to talk
semi-good
about
news.
moving.
nothing moves without a meeting first.
Yeah, and we have to draw the white paint, and everybody's got to look at it and bless it.
Hopefully, they don't have to move the meeting.
You know what? I sometimes wait to see if I'm not stuck at the red light so I can look around to read the sign.
Yes, I know. So, anyway, only the meeting there.
Okay, well, that's a start.
Baby steps.
Okay.
Well, is anyone in favor of stopping, well, lack of a better word, the signs at Bush Plaza?
I think you have to go to the administration and set up rules and regulations about, and set up some kind of ordinance for Bush Plaza.
We're going to have the administrators meeting. That's
Okay.
And, so we'll discuss that, and then, because if we decide that we don't want signs on the LED, the individual, groups on the LED sign, then we still need a place to put them, so.
Right.
But whatever, we have to discuss it.
And one more thing on that, a reminder for anybody watching, anybody here, if you want to put something up on our 287 billboard, you can. You send it in to us.
On the LED sign.
On the LED billboard on Route 287, there's a Girl Scout troop here in town that emailed me. I got them to send the right pixelation and all that. I'm not a graphic designer, but the people who are, when I told them what the specs were, instantaneously they sent it back to me. These people who are great with computers and doing all that sent it right back, and it's up on 287. Knights of Columbus's horseshoe tournament's up there right now.
But that's only for 5013C or,
Right.
I mean, it can't be an individual having a garage.
Correct. Yep. So those types of organizations can do that, and it's another way you can advertise beyond just Bush Plaza.
Right. Okay, good. Next one is clothing bins.
So that's another thing. Okay, sorry to take all these things that I got going on here.
Earlier, so use that in your.
Well, so the clothing bin we heard earlier, right? Absolutely. So we hear it's messy, it's nasty because we don't have enough clothing. So many years ago, over 10 years ago, council said, okay, because there was a nuisance. I don't know what was going on. 10 years ago, where was I? I don't know. But I wasn't here, and so that happened. Probably for good reason, I'm sure. I don't know if anybody was here when that conversation came up, but I wasn't.
What are you talking about?
When the clothing bins outside of borough property were restricted. So no more clothing bins on private property. So what I'm proposing is, because Knights of Columbus have one, Elks have a bin, collection bin, that we allow, again, for private property, some type of rules maybe aesthetically where it needs to be set back off of property, it can't be somewhere, it's to be clean, and if there's a violation of that, there'd be some way we can enforce it. I think maybe one of the reasons why our borough bin is overflowing is there's not enough bins. People have more donations than there are bins in town to collect, and the borough does receive revenue for those bins, and these organizations do well. It's good to raise revenue for our nonprofits like the Elks and the Knights and other ones if they wanted to have bins and kept properly and neatly. So I am in favor of allowing organizations on private property, nonprofits, whatever it may be, if we to restrict that, that's possible, to have clothing bins.
However, I mean, I told you I was not against that.
Yep.
But after what I see at the borough, you have to, whoever has the bin on the property is going to be held responsible.
Correct. So there'd be,
sure it's
which
kept
we could
clean.
enforce, instead of enforcing them having bins, which is what's going on right now, because they are in violation of even having the bins there.
I
And
think there are bins there.
there are bins there, and they're in violation currently because we don't allow that. We would allow it, and if they weren't kept neat, can we send ourselves a violation since ours is such a mess?
Well, we don't normally.
It's awful.
Rich, isn't it about getting the people who pick the clothing up to come more often when we notice them?
You know what, they were just empty last, I saw them empty amount, so this was not a case as far as I'm aware that they were full.
Okay.
I mean, and these organizations had a tough time last year with rentals and everything else, all this nonsense with they couldn't, I know, I'm a Knight, so I'll admit, so I know, like, the National Knights of Columbus said, we don't want people having meetings and renting halls, it's not a good, they're recommending.
All right,
So-
I think that should be added to the agenda of the administration committee.
Okay.
He agrees, okay.
All right.
And bring a
I'm not-
proposal.
There's a big issue, and I think what we need Brian's guidance on, because there was kind of a regulatory scheme in place prior, right? And you included that in your package, because some of that language is actually still there in the code now, although it's just not operative by the fact that we restricted borough property back in 2009. So I think we need Brian to help draft some language there regarding, what zones, what types of institutions, that sort of thing, so it can be applied uniformly. And doing that, we can bring something back.
Isn't this something more for the planning board?
No, it's more really a maintenance issue.
Okay.
The
DPW?
The issues that you have with clothing bins, and there's a long history, is the reason that it was selected that they would be licensed and placed on borough property was the condition that they were kept in. They were at businesses in town. They were also at maybe nonprofit accommodations, and they just weren't maintained. And it was very messy, so the council at that time said, we're banning clothing bins, and if you want a clothing bin, it's going to be on borough property, because they thought that at that time it would be better regulated.
Well, just go into Richard's office and look out his window.
Doesn't seem like it is.
Oh. So, would that be DPW or administration?
Send it to administration.
Okay, it's on your agenda.
Okay.
And then to be continued.
Just when I got off administration, all this fun stuff's going.
We could require them to have a camera for violators.
That's a good point.
Wireless
That's not
cameras.
expensive.
Right.
Little ring camera.
Yeah, if you watch all these movies, they're always asking about the CCT cameras.
Yeah, put a sign up, that, their cameras are
Under
being
surveillance.
used to surveil the property. Any person caught on camera violating will be given a summons.
Okay. Outdoor dining.
Okay, that's another one that I asked Rich to put on here because, I just looking at what our ordinance was and thinking about as things come this time of year when we were doing it last year, we didn't really look for the future. I'm in the belief that outdoor dining is great. I like dining al fresco, always have, and it's good for the business. I think it's good for our town if for these businesses to be able to have outdoor dining. So to go back to 100% capacity, we wouldn't be able to have the outdoor dining anymore. I think we should keep outdoor dining even if it is 100% capacity.
Sometimes good things come out of bad things.
So that's why I wanted
And
it
for
on a work
years,
session.
we have tried, a few of us have tried to encourage outdoor dining and haven't been very successful. And then with the pandemic, with the closing of the indoor dining, the outdoor, I prefer to eat outdoors, just like you, Grant. I think it's great. I know people that are still not going to indoor restaurants and would like to go out and stay outside. And so we would have to extend the current resolution that's on the books.
Right, so the resolution that you modified, amended in March, extended the time period until restaurants could be at 100%.
100%.
Which I think
Right,
they
so
can be.
that was done in May.
Can't they?
It really hasn't changed anything. Anybody that was operating is still operating. There was a law passed by the state, Governor Murphy signed in February, that would allow an extension of temporary outdoor dining to November of 2022.
Right.
Yep.
So, Brian, the question I have is, given the terms of that law, do we need to modify our resolution at all? Or can we simply just rely on the fact that there's statutory authority to have this temporary outdoor dining?
I'd be more comfortable since we had prior resolutions, we do another one.
So the question is, do we want to limit and have an end time date?
The reason I asked is I don't think we should. I think we should.
That's what I'm asking.
We should amend it and allow for outdoor dining.
Again,
Well-
the statutory authority goes to November of 2022.
But our ordinance, we don't
Right,
have to.
And we have worked on a draft. If you recall, there were actually a couple of ordinances that were going to change. One, we were going to modify parking standards to allow it.
Yep.
And put a number of conditions on it regarding patron safety from vehicular traffic and the like. Those ordinances are still in the planning phase. This at least would buy us some time to finish working on those, engage the restaurant community, maybe perhaps get their feedback as well on a final form, and then bring it up to the normal ordinance adoption process.
Yeah, and the longer we extend it, it gives the operators of the businesses an incentive to make their outdoor dining, to invest a little bit more into it, to make it a little bit more special.
I'm not looking to extend it. I'm just making to make it that this is what it
Permanent.
is. Just allow it. Permanent.
So just so I understand, Mr. Coon, so you currently right now, you're working on language and really holistically looking at the entire town of, to do this in the proper way. I mean, granted, this was when we originally adopted this, came out of COVID, and it was, let's keep businesses alive, and, have the ability they can survive, and people can go out and eat and really, be as normal as they can. But, so what do you expect, your work to be done on this, or the research to be done? I mean, obviously, this will buy us more time, but if we want to get to that point where it is adopted, for outside dining, I'm fully in support of that.
Yeah, I think we can have something ready for discussion later this fall.
So the
Okay.
question is, do you want to just limit it to time frame and within the purview of what the state is saying?
No.
Or are we saying that we like outdoor dining, why not allow it to continue?
And you're on a Roman holiday.
Definitely.
I think there's intrinsic value to outdoor dining. I mean, I
Absolutely.
like sitting outside, going down to the restaurant.
So-
I mean, it's better than being sitting inside the building, especially on a nice day, morning, having breakfast. I mean, there's value to that.
That's fine, but so now if we have 100% capacity inside and then we have 100% capacity outside, where's everybody parking?
Well, that's the thing with
Right,
the
and that's
parking.
one of the issues that we were grappling with, to make sure that there was still enough, provide reasonable opportunities. I think regardless of doing something by ordinance that's permanent, given the fact that technically our resolution, expired more or less when it went to 100%.
Right.
We would still want to extend that.
Correct.
Yes.
At a minimum.
Right.
Okay, good. All right.
So, Brian, would you prepare an amendment that council?
Yeah, we'll do a new resolution.
Any new business? Old
Ye-
business?
yes.
Rand, do you want to bring up about our ad hoc committee?
Cannabis.
Yeah, we can talk about that, but I did have some new business.
Okay.
Just about masking at town facilities in general, and if that's something that we should even be having and enforcing at all. That these new guidelines have come out, and it looks like borough employees, if they're fully vaccinated, are now having to mask again. I think anybody can choose to wear a mask if they want, but to force everyone to be wearing a mask if they're vaccinated, I just don't think that's something we should be enforcing here in Oakland and any of our buildings or any of our facilities.
Well,
Bridget?
that's new business, so we could agendize it for the next meeting.
Please. Okay, old business.
Yes, our ad hoc committee, we have an ongoing ad hoc committee to study cannabis, the legalization of cannabis. And it's been an excellent committee. I mean, we regularly via Zoom. I know that Councilman Pignatelli and Councilman Benek did tour the facility in Maplewood.
Oh, yes, correct. But I was unable to attend this last meeting since I'm on the ambulance
Right.
squad. I
But
had an
you did-
emergency call.
But you did take the tour.
I'm sorry.
And
Yes,
it was everything I told you it was?
it was everything you said.
And they didn't give you samples?
No.
Okay. So,
It's very strict.
announcement.
Just the other thing, I mean, the frequently asked questions from municipalities came out. I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to look at it. The fee schedule came out, all the information, facts for FAQs came out for municipalities. I just hope everybody had a chance to look at that. I know our ad hoc committee has looked at it. There is a draft resolution we are working on, a draft ordinance that we did already review, and the last meeting went very well. I think everybody's come a long way. I know I've learned an incredible amount from everyone on that ad hoc committee. I want to thank Frank DePentima and Mike Guadagnino and everybody who's involved. Matt Goodrich, who's on the committee, just thank them all for their work on that.
Just if I could just stop you for a minute, if anybody's checking with your home to make sure everything is okay at home, there are some roads in the local communities flooding, so just keep checking with your house and make sure everything is okay, that's all, sorry,
So-
Councilman.
That's okay. Other old business that I have is.
Oh, and the committee, did you talk about what we're doing on the committee?
The latest, what you discussed at the latest meeting.
Yeah, it's just that we've reviewed a draft ordinance. We've really come a long way on looking at the 6 areas that can be regulated and what makes sense for the town. It seems pretty unanimous when it comes to delivery and warehousing, but we're still looking when it comes to regulating things related to potential smells with cultivation, manufacturing, and of course, now that we have all these stack of papers here from the state, taking in a lot of that into consideration to see what makes sense for Oakland and our very specific zones, the IP zones, the CO IP zones. So, yes, that is all, we discussed all that, and we have another meeting scheduled.
Good.
I want to talk a little bit about traffic study as well. It's another thing Councilman Pignatelli and I have been working on together, and where we are with this traffic study and the satellites we heard about last meeting. This thing, we have a traffic problem in Oakland, got to do something about it. I am a fan of traffic circles. I'm a fan of adaptive intelligence In our traffic light system, we know we looked into that a little bit. May not work for our municipality, but there are towns like Morristown that are looking into it, Fort Lee, where it's predicting this analytics or when it's busy and when there's lights and being able to change the lights so you're not just sitting there with no cars going around. I mean, when it comes to the environment, so many things with traffic generally, now that we have the technology, we can fix that. So just seeing where we are with our traffic study.
Yeah, I asked the borough administrator to set up some meeting dates in September.
Good,
So we
thank
can
you.
sit down with the police and go over our findings.
Okay. Is Councilman Pignatelli and I be
Yeah.
invited to that, please?
Well, it should also be the police and the public safety committee.
That's me. That is me.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Another thing is going back to the council chambers. I don't know if there's any more. We've talked about that maybe for the fall. Fall is coming up. It's still summer, but fall is approaching. And we did talk about maybe October as a target date, and being that that's only 2 meetings away from now, this is something I did want to bring up again because it's not great. I had to go back, and as difficult it is to listen and watch myself, watch some of these videos. The audio, I hope I'm doing better tonight, is challenging. The way we're viewed is challenging. The broadcasting for our OCC, our TV committee, I don't know, what's everybody's thoughts?
I have to say, I'm in agreement with Councilman Van Dyke. I think we really need to get back. I think we should put it on next meeting's agenda and make a decision going back into October. I mean, this is all well and good, but we really got to get back to chambers.
Well, I would like to wait and see. We'll talk about it again in the next meeting. As you know, the zoning board was meeting in the chambers. Now it's going back to the there was cases, about a positive case that came out after that meeting. So I'm asking that we talk about it at the next meeting and see where we are at that time.
I have another
Make
question.
rash decisions.
Before we get away from the traffic study, John, when is the county going to repave 202? Because I had wanted to get whatever suggestions we were going to have available to them before they pave.
Yes, Councilman, that has been pushed to next year.
Oh, good, okay.
Because Rampo Valley Road has to be excavated for the force mains for the decommissioning project.
Okay.
And as you know, that we're waiting for the I-Bank to give the blessing for that for us to go out to bid.
Okay.
It's
So we still have time, right? I just wanted to make sure, because if any of the recommendations require different striping or lights or whatever, it'd be done before the pavement. Thank you. I feel better.
Okay. All right, council committee reports. We'll start with council.
I have some old business.
Oh, where? I'm sorry.
Just, we had gotten an email from resident Strell, his name with the rain. Are we anywhere on that?
Talk into the mic.
We can't hear you.
You're too far away from it.
Okay. So we had a resident contact us about stormwater runoff in their.
Yeah, it looked from the rather choppy video that was coming from a neighbor's property. Waiting for the code enforcement. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go up there and look, but I did send a follow-up email this evening asking for a status on that. So
All right, because I think there was another email sent from the homeowner.
The complaint.
Yeah. So all right, as long as we can get that, and then just old business. The lights on the rec field. I live on the rec field. I'm there a lot. I've been there when the lights haven't been on time. I've been on there when the lights have been turned off on me because we were there past the magic number, and now you're in the dark. That's not safe either way. In the rain, the football practices, they practice rain, snow, sleet. They're out there. On snowy days, inclement days, a lot of times there's lights on so people can use the walking path. It's safety issues. I know I'm sure there's times when the lights have been on. I've been on the field when we've had a rain out, and I call up my chairman of the baseball if it happens to be, and I tell him, oh, the game got rained out, you could turn the lights off, and he does. But if I don't make the phone call, he doesn't necessarily know that the game was rained out because he's inside. He's someplace else. The lights go off at 10:30, whatever time it is. It's not. We're not leaving the lights on purpose. If they were on tonight, I don't know if football was there. But they get turned off. And again, these are volunteers. These are people that love being down there. I know my family loves the rec field. We love everything about Oakland Recreation, and to complain about the lights being on, I would rather the lights be on than be off and someone gets hurt, or it makes it inviting. It makes you want to be down on the rec field, and to be complaining about the lights like we're doing nothing about it. It's just we're doing what we can, and if we miss, we miss. But again, I would rather have the lights be on, and there's not a problem, than the lights be off and there is a problem. And
I thought on a night like tonight, we could call the police department. I thought the police department could shut them off. I thought that was the.
I could text Mike Guadagnino, and Mike Guadagnino could turn every single one of those lights on and off right now. It's not an issue. And if Mike knows that nothing's going on down here, he'll turn them off. But a lot of times he doesn't know. It's hard to know. And again, it's volunteers. It's not being done to spite anyone. It's not being done on purpose. It's not being. It's safety. Like again, I said, I've been down there and trying to. We're trying to play a playoff game late in the season, and we can't turn the lights on because it's too early, and so the kids are pitching the ball, and you can hardly see the ball. Somebody hits the ball, and they're going to get hurt because you can't see, because you can't turn the lights on because it's too soon. And then the game goes too late, and then all of a sudden the lights turn off on you because they're on a hard shut-off, and now somebody hits the ball, and again, they're going to get hurt because the lights go out. And then you have to wait for the lights to come on because they're not LED, they're gas lights, and they take like a half hour to come back on. So it just I'm sorry I'm so passionate about this, but again, my family loves Oakland Recreation, and they do what they can, when they can, and how they can, and the lights are really the least of our concerns. There's lots going on with rec, and they do what they can. They're all volunteers. That's it with the whole business. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Van Eck, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm going to try really quick because of the storm. Recreation, football, cheer, and soccer is ongoing. We had AEDs that were donated, so two of our fields we had an incident, and thank God I believe everyone's okay. But there was a call for AEDs, so we did get a donor, so no taxpayer dollars will go into getting those AEDs at those two fields where we don't have them, which will make it even safer, and that's great news. And there was no August meeting for rec. OCC, next meeting is September 13th. We're closing in on our Digis streaming. It's something I've been talking about every meeting. I'm very happy about that. Well, so families who have cut the cord, I'm a millennial, so a lot of millennials don't have cable packages, so they don't get Verizon or Fios, and our PEG channel, which even though we do have YouTube, so through this service we'll be able to have it on streaming service as well, which I think is very exciting. Newsletter just came out too. Shade Tree, we're working on a planting plan around the LED sign. This is partly into replacement that legacy tree that was very sadly taken down. One of the most beautiful trees in all of Oakland was taken down right on the main strip. So there is a plan underway for replacing that and beautifying that area around the sign. DPW is doing a great job. As you can see, they're very busy with all the water that we've been having. With the gate, Crystal Lake, so I want to thank them for all their hard work. They're moving forward on the sidewalk projects we heard today with the bids, which is exciting, and the bridge, Patriots Way Bridge, is safe to drive. So thank you, Mayor. Hopefully everybody has a happy Labor Day. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to say. Welcome, Michael Gambatese. Thank you for joining the Communications Commission. I'm excited to have you on board. Thank you.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just received an update from OEM. Right now, the Alderman Brook is up about 6 inches in the last 20 minutes, and there's local flooding coming down Franklin Ave and 202 right now, and there's water rescues taking place in Wayne. So, I mean, this is a real weather event compared to what took place last week. So, I'm going to keep my remarks really brief.
And it says, do not travel unless you are fleeing an area subject to flooding or under an evacuation order.
So OEM currently is out there. I was out with OEM last week when this event was taking place, and what OEM does is we've got several flood gauges around town. There's the Alaman Brook down at Crystal Lake and also down at the Ramapo River. And what OEM does is he's driving around the town the whole time, and once we saw the lake crested last week, immediately notification was made to the residents. So really, everybody, please be careful. This is a real event this week compared to last week from the reports that we're getting. For my report, Great Oak Park, there was no report. There was no meeting because of vacation. Same thing with the green team. There's no report. And really, I just want to move this along. Thank you.
Thank you. I went down Lake Shore the following day that morning, and the residents were, they were doing okay. It wasn't as bad. They came back, but one of the residents told me about the snake that she found that came up with the water. So just be careful.
Actually, Mayor, I had one more thing I wanted to bring up in reference to what Mr. Keekott was talking about today. And something really bothered me with what's going on with Governor Murphy that I really took exception to. When this originally started, I know we were going through a really tough time trying to understand the virus and everything that was taking place, but I really took offense to the fact that if you disagreed with the governor, you were called a knucklehead. And can you imagine if any one of us in this council would say to our residents, you're a knucklehead? And what really, really got me upset also was when he took his trip to Italy. And what I did is, I was sitting there going, you're sitting in Trenton telling us how to act and what to be. Don't travel, don't do this, don't do that. So out of curiosity, what I did is I went to the CDC website and I went to the U.S. Embassy Consulate in Italy dated October 11th, 2021. And it says county-specific information to travel. And I just want to read a couple things for you. It says, Italy has confirmed case of COVID-19 within its borders. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has issued a level 3 travel health notice, citing that high levels of COVID are in Italy. The Department of State's level 3 travel advisory recommends that travelers reconsider travel to Italy due to COVID-19. I'm really struggling. If we have a governor that's making these onerous sanctions on us, why doesn't he follow his own rules or take the same guidance that's coming from the state? And that's the end of my rant. Thank you, Mayor.
He's a hypocrite.
All right, Councilman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. From the Senior Citizen Center, Ariel, bingo will be held on September 16th from 1 to 3 p.m. There will be a presentation with the Bergen County Surrogate Judge Michael Dressler on Monday, September 20th. At 1 p.m., he will be speaking on probate, the importance of having a last will and testament, advanced medical directives, powers of attorney, and services of the surrogate court. This will be an informative presentation followed by a question and answer period. Senior Center will be hosting a midweek movie on Wednesday, September 29th at 1 p.m. We will be playing the new movie In the Heights, and popcorn will be served. Senior Center Book Club will be held on Thursday, September 30th at 1 p.m. This month's book, In the Four Winds, by Kristen Hanna. If anyone would like to join, books can be picked up at the Senior Citizen Office. We ask anyone interested in attending any of our special programs, register with the office by calling 201-405-7731 or emailing seniors@oakland-nj.org. And to reiterate what the mayor said about the testing center here at the Senior Center, I know that the mayor mentioned the days, but the times are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 12:30 p.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have a message from the Oakland Police Department. On August the 16th, a resident was walking across the New York Susquehanna Railroad trestle in Oakland and was almost struck by the train. As a reminder to residents, it is dangerous and illegal to walk across the trestle or walk on any railroad tracks in the Borough of Oakland. These tracks are privately owned by the New York Susquehanna Railroad Company and are for their trains only. No one is permitted to walk on or along their train track route. There are no trespassing signs posted periodically along the tracks to advise and discourage people from entering onto the tracks. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. As for patrol officer activity during the month, officers conducted 480 motor vehicle stops and issued 775 motor vehicle summonses. Officers also made one arrest for driving while intoxicated. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bialy?
Well, thank you, Mayor. Decommissioning of the sanitary treatment plants. We're still waiting for the New Jersey I-Bank's okay to advertise for bids. We are in a position to advertise immediately upon the I-Bank's agreement. I have a John, if you want me to be there, John, a meeting with the county and the county's contractor, Alan Brightway, for the Oak Street, Ramapo Valley Road traffic box to discuss and approve a new location for the cabinet and the county to derive the cost of the relocation. Skybrook Hillbrook sewer lining, 70 to 75% of the lining is complete. A residence shed inhibiting access is scheduled to be moved by the contractor within the next couple of days. A rock was recently found within the system, which requires that to be addressed, and absent of the rock issue, about 2 to 3 days is needed to complete a majority of the lining. Our water and sewer department is going through its normal and usual events with our water mains and breaking lines, and obviously we have the one issue up on Iroquois, is it, Rich? Which will be addressed by the contract. Yeah.
Will be advertised for bids in the month of September.
Very good. And we're going through the regular exercise of all the valves as per the yearly maintenance program. As Grant mentioned, the bridge remains safe for vehicular and pedestrian travel. The project remains on schedule for advertisement of bids in October of 21. The construction cost estimate remains at $5.49 million, which includes $360,000 for construction management. And Boswell will have an updated estimate prior to the next September meeting. Boswell continues to work with the NJDOT Local Aid Office on the extension of a $200,000 grant in state funding, which is set to expire in November. And obviously tonight, it was good news to hear, we have awarded the Ramapo Valley Road sidewalk project. So that'll be on. They'll be able to start in about 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yes.
Very good.
We'll schedule a pre-construction meeting as soon as possible.
Very good. Thank you, John.
That's it.
That's it.
Councilman Buick?
Thank you. Just schools, the high school and the local schools all start on September 9th. Just please be careful. Remember, there's lots of kids going to be walking around, new traffic patterns. Just pay attention when school opens. But I know all the parents are excited about school starting. The kids maybe not so much. But and then finance. If we could schedule a finance meeting maybe in the next couple of weeks. I thought we had one. Do we have one coming up? Okay, so then that's fine. And then just the public events. Just if you're interested in joining the public events, we need new members. Like I always say, it's a great group of people. There's pretty much nothing in town that public events doesn't help with, and we could always need some help. So if you're interested, please join the group. Thank you. That's it, Mayor.
And remember the 9/11 ceremony on 9/11.
And Mayor, I have one more thing I wanted to talk about, if I may. And that is, in Bergen County in the last month, there's been 3 pedestrians hit and killed by motor vehicles. And there was a story in the paper about the best way to prevent it is for pedestrians, when you're crossing, try to look at the driver's eyes. Make contact with him so you know what his intent is. And I was on the phone with the police chief, and I've noticed a lot of cars around that have not only back blacked out windows, but all blacked out windows, which is a violation of the motor vehicle statute. You should be able to see the driver's face so you can read his intent, so you know whether, even when you're driving, you're always looking at the driver adjacent to you or at the right angle to see what his intent is. But if you can't see their eyes, you don't know what they're going to do. And I did notice that there's a lot of vehicles in Oakland driving around where all the windows are blacked out and you can't see the driver. So it does become a safety issue. So if you know somebody with the car like that, just let them know it's not a good thing, and it's a safety issue for all of us.
And they could get ticketed.
And they can get ticketed.
And they could get stopped. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody? 3 minutes, Pete,
Thank you, Mayor.
because,
I'll be
only
brief.
because people are getting worried about the.
I'll be brief. Peter Keekout, 20 Million Mile Boulevard. Shade tree stuff. First, actually, no, the brewery. Frank Grant, if that was you, the group, the brewery, the brew clubs, and the distilleries. Holy cow, great idea.
Are we gonna see you there?
Oh, are you ever? I'm buying shots for everybody.
Oh.
So,
Thank you, Peter. I worked a long time on that.
Shade tree commission stuff. So for the planning board, I was just asked if they obviously reference someone from the shade tree commission regarding the trees that you would like to propose for the streetscape plan. Thank you to any of the council members. I don't know who they are because I wasn't participating in the meeting, but with Ed Clark and Nancy Krause, who worked on with the council on the ordinance revisions that we proposed, we still feel that they're incredibly important. I was talking to Michael Corelli earlier about Riverdale, what he's trying to do with his shade tree commission there, and they're seeing the same issues that we're seeing here. They're equally as important. It's to protect our shade tree canopy, and just I applaud you for getting to the table and talking about it finally. It's been a long time coming. It's been written for 2 years. It's finally getting discussion, and I'm glad to see that. Station Park, Councilman, come on.
Show him, maybe give them another,
Listen, we'll do another presentation if we have to. We lost the grant money. There were some grant issues with the grant company that was chosen 5 years ago when it was developed.
she died.
Besides her death, there
Oh.
were some other complications with, yes, that certainly would complicate things.
Yes.
Thank you for clarification. Station Park is a part of the downtown revitalization plan. Okay, it's a huge step in getting what you talked about this improvement district. So, go ahead.
Mayor, may I just address it real quick?
Quickly.
Yeah, I just want to say, Mr. Keekout, I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is really the first domino, and it shows Oakland's commitment to revitalizing the downtown by starting, doing Station Park and getting it going. So I'm in complete agreement.
Thank you. Your comment too, Councilman, about this knucklehead comment reminded me last year when our family and many of the families in town were protesting down in Trenton regarding the SB 276 proposal to remove religious exemptions from vaccinations. Remember the time Senator Sweeney, the Democratic Senate chair, went on record in front of the news and said that he was ready to go to war with us. These are our elected officials that are threatening us, they're name-calling us, they're threatening to go to war with us. Enough is enough, so.
There is
at
a
some
religious
point-
exemption.
I'm sorry?
There is a religious.
Correct. We fought to have it maintained. Correct. We were victorious. He lost his bid with Senator Weinberg and was peed off because he lost. And he said he wanted to go to war with us and that he was ready to go with us, war with us. And that was because we protested, because we didn't agree with his decision. So evidently, you're no longer allowed to disagree with an elected official's position. And that becomes, you have to go to war with them. So, yes, we're not knuckleheads. We don't need to go to war. We can have a discussion. Mayor, you made a comment about the planning board meeting at the council chambers, and Councilman Kamala wanted to go back.
No.
Sorry?
It wasn't the planning board, it was the zoning board.
Zoning board. Thank you, Mayor. You said there was a positive test. I can direct you to the handout that my wife gave you earlier, the third last page, where it says the FDA admits PCR test was developed with any isolated COVID-19 virus samples. You cannot test merely for COVID in that PCR test. You spin it so many times, you talk to any virologist, you're going to find some virus in your body. If you keep spinning that, it's a progressive test. Spin it, spin it, spin it. It's like finding out that we were all born from Adam and Eve. It's spinning it and spinning it. You're always going to find that virus. Please, I implore you, again, don't listen to me. Do your own research, please. Look at the third to last page of the handout that I gave you and the second to last page of the handout. And you will see links that you can follow that give you the facts about the BS that is behind these PCR tests. So that person could have had a cold, they could have had MERS, they could have had SARS, they could have had any of a number of different viruses. It is not isolated to COVID. That is proven, that is factual.
Well,
Please
I
research yourself.
appreciate your wife who did all this research. Right, you did it, didn't you, Brenda? Yes. Yes, I figured. Excellent. Anybody else?
Dave Richardson, Street 20 Maryville Valley Road. Just a couple things. A couple of months ago, there's that old stucco house down across the street from the BP station. I believe that used to belong to Mr. Smiley.
He still does.
He still does. And the town went down and cleaned up the property. Did he get to go for that?
When the town, just so you know, wait, just so everyone knows, if property maintenance is not maintained, for example, there's one right by where I live, and if the borough goes in and sends DPW in, a lien is put on that house. So when the house is sold, or at some point, they will have to pay back.
Right now, like I say,
There's a tree on that house right now.
I brought that to the administrator's attention 2 weeks ago. And, Rich, has that notice been sent out?
It's been there a very long time, that
Yeah,
tree.
DPW will be going out and re-cleaning up the property. We'll have to engage an outside company to remove the tree.
there's a couple other properties in town here that are really
You have to notify, everybody else calls me, why don't you
I've
call me?
notified the borough, the Board of Health and the property maintenance about this one down here on, by the river, on River Road.
On River Road?
The one right next to the log, the Rampo Pool Company,
Okay.
the one right next to it.
Mark that down, please, Mr. Combs.
Sure.
I notified him. Thank you.
Place is small.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, clean it up. I don't know if they're renters that are there or what. So I know the people I used to own that house years ago. That was Cal Beers, who used to have a sports shop.
Anything else?
Okay. So I'm just,
Not about the lights? No.
well, I could say something.
No, it's okay. We heard you.
Jeff Levitt, who owns the gas
Right.
station, every time I go up there, he goes, I wish they paved my road. I wish they paved my road. He's on Hemlock Street. Down before the.
I know where Hemlock is.
No, it
I mean, the road's in bad shape. I mean, is that a private road or is that?
What happens is, just so you know, how do they decide what roads are getting paved? The engineer goes out with DPW and who else? Who else goes out and goes through, they score the roads.
I mean, Doty Road is a mess, Yawpaw's a mess.
I'm just telling you what they do.
Street's a mess.
A lot of roads are a mess.
A lot of roads need to be repaired in town.
So that's why we have an ad hoc committee to help us bring in some more revenue.
Mayor, just so everybody's aware, Hemlock Street is on the list of roads that is going to be done this year as part of the recent bid.
Well, they'll feel happy about that.
Thank you.
I'll tell them up. Thank you very much.
Be safe.
All right,
Drive
thank you.
safely home.
Good night.
I was not planning on speaking, have a few reasons to do that. This is actually my son's that a few.
You didn't make this? You didn't do this?
No, what I'm reading right now is what Connor,
Oh.
he's got cold feet. So that's why it would be my time to be here for. Councilman telling me, I just wanted to say the Oakland rec volunteers and the staff and everyone is actually super wonderful. So we're super happy with all of them.
Thank you.
Our son is homeschooled, so last year, so he did not go into public school. However, he still has all his friends that he hangs out with, and I can tell you, I myself have heard many complaints from those kids and how they actually have to go take bathroom breaks just to breathe, which is very sad because, like Melissa said earlier, they will not be kids for much longer. Mine's already 4.5. So what memories are they actually making right now? And that as far as our children go, the parents know that. I don't think anybody else knows my child other than I do, not even my husband. So what, a couple mass texts, which we go to read it, and I myself might not understand the middle of it, all the molecular combination of all of that. However, the introduction and the conclusion is in plain English. So during 2020, mental health related emergency department visits among adolescents aged 12 to 17 increased by 31% compared to the year before that, 2019. Just in 1 month, February 21st to March 20th, 2021, suspected suicide attempts, ER visits, were 50.6% higher among girls aged 12 to 17 than the same period in 2019, and 3.7% higher in boys. Youth depression and anxiety doubled during 2020. As if we didn't have a problem before, with all the kids having issues, being depressed and anxious and everything else, it doubled. That scared the heck out of me, having a speech. You've probably seen the meme. It's kind of funny, but the mosquito going through the chain link, as if to say that the size of the virus droplets are going through a mask just like that, and we probably thought it was silly. It's true. The pore size of the mask, the cotton mask, the blue mask, the surgical mask, everything everybody's wearing, is 80 to 500 micrometers in size.
You know what, I'm gonna stop you, because I've been reading that, and it seems like I'm reading what you, I read. We can't do anything about the school. We have our hands tied. We could listen, we could say what we want. I can't even get their email addresses, the school board members. I have complained to the school board superintendent.
It's on the website.
That they don't give their individual addresses. They do now?
It's on the website.
Because
It's
I
been
have
on the website
complained
for months now.
so much.
Mr. Mayor, it's not even just about the schools, it's about our town buildings, everywhere else that we go.
But you've been talking about the schools, and I understand children are so important. But you've got to get your word out to the school board.
We're trying that too as well. But also for my child's coming here, for myself coming here, we have to have medical exemption, not wear a mask. I mean, that should be a choice as well. So that's my point. So the size of the masks that everybody's wearing is between 80 to 500 micrometers. The size of the coronavirus is 0.1 micrometers. That's why it's going right through it. The CDC performed a study which showed that 85% of those who contracted COVID during July 2020 wore a mask. 85%, versus 3.9 who did not wear one. From OSHA, surgical masks do not protect against airborne aerosols or pathogens. From WHO, there is currently no evidence that wearing a mask by healthy persons can prevent infection with respiratory viruses, including COVID-19. And two small things. Results of a German study on mouth-and-nose coverings in a total of almost 26,000 children. Impairments caused by wearing a mask were reported by 68% of the parents, including irritability, 60%, headaches, 53%, difficulty concentrating, 3%, less happiness, 49%, reluctance to go to school, 44%, and so on. And there's another study on there that wearing a mask literally causes your brain to make you feel more afraid. And this is not just for children, it's for adults as well. So all we're asking, we just want to have the freedom to make our own health choices. Thank you. For us, for ourselves, and our children. Thank you.
I suggest you get all this material to the school board.
We're going there too. We've been there.
Both,
We've built them
local
again.
and regional.
Well, one of the things we can do is pass a resolution in opposition to the governor's executive order 251, so I've got a draft ready to go. I
That's
think
for next
next meeting, we'll have the resolution on the agenda, and we'll have a vote on that resolution in opposition to executive order 251. That much we can do.
But you have to continue to
We're trying hard.
with the school
We're
board.
just trying every
You've
way
got to
we
have
can.
them open their ears and listen
It's not
to
even
you.
the school board, it's the governor.
It's the governor. So we'll have a resolution on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, sure.
All right, that's it. Is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Pay the bills.
Well, first we have to close to the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Bills to be paid, Councilman.
Bills to be paid, $868,000. $745.04. So moved.
Second.
If you've read the bills list, then you can vote. Roll call.
Councilman Diallo?
Yes.
Councilman Kamala?
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Salamini?
Yes.
Councilman Van Al?
Yes.
The next, meeting adjourned,
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
The next meeting is September 22nd, right here